listen to VOA, Japanese English listening material site with transcript. Takaaki Mitsuhashi on December 12, 2017, a dinner with Prime Minister Abe began. However, it was later discovered that there was a political intention. There are parts that are difficult for me alone. I want you to cooperate. I felt like I had received such a voice through this dinner. And the Prime Minister is struggling most now because there are three enemies. He told us. First, this power is always enemy of Prime Minister Abe. They're trying to drag Prime Minister Abe in a loose form with leaks such as the Moritomo problem and the Kake school problem. Second, because of this force, Japan has been eaten by the West. And the disparity in Japan is growing. Third, this power is rooted in all politicians and bureaucrats, and is very troublesome. I'm going to manage this enemy in my last term. To solve brainwashing by them and lead Japan in the right direction. He's been fighting with these three enemies for a long time. But it seems to him that they've been very strong and the Prime Minister didn't think so far. However, he felt a sense of crisis that Japan could really be too late if he didn't deal with the last third force. Why? This is because there is a very high possibility that we will face the 2020 economic crisis in Japan that may come in 2 years, and we cannot respond to it. This Japanese economic 2020 crisis has been seen as a problem for some time, and may happen at the same time as the Olympics. If this crisis comes, the salary of the Japanese people will fall further, making life harder than it is now and accelerating poverty. There is also a possibility that Japan, which is an economic powerhouse that accounted for 1/5 of the world's GDP, could be overtaken by South Korea. And the impact of natural disasters that are plaguing Japan today may be even greater. Not only that, but there is a possibility that the Japanese yen will fall into a global financial crisis due to the strong yen. While the Olympics are in trouble, the Japanese economy 2020 crisis is progressing underwater. To be honest, you may be convinced that you can't be convinced by listening to the story so far. Of course I understand that feeling. However, something that we thought should not happen will suddenly happen one day. For example, the Lehman shock that occurred in 2008. As a major investment company went bankrupt, we faced a global financial crisis. Japan was also affected by this, and many people lost their jobs and the number of suicides increased. Historically, what we thought was happening every decade. About 10 years have passed since the Lehman shock, and this time, the Japan economic 2020 crisis starts, and there is a possibility of a global financial crisis. In order to prevent this, I would like many people to know the current situation in Japan, the crisis in Japan in 2020, and what was exchanged with the Prime Minister, the intention of the Prime Minister. I made a book. For that reason, some of the books that will be reported from now are not covered in the table. Not even in bookstores, for example. What did the Prime Minister want to convey to the public opening a dinner with the author, open to the world? What is the three enemies' identity that disturbed him, revealed at this dinner? What is the difference between Xi Jinping of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea with absolute power, and Prime Minister Abe? What is the worst and greatest disease lurking in the current Japanese economy? What is the crisis situation in Japan that may go forward in 2020? It starts in Japan and is same as the Lehman shock in 2008 will return. What is the weakness of the Japanese economy that may be overtaken by South Korea? And what is the true nature of the negative spiral that the Japanese people have fallen into poverty for 20 years? What can we do to protect ourselves? Table of Contents, Japanese Economy 2020 Crisis. Asterisk 1. Prime Minister Abe's remarks are written in an actual meeting with Takaaki Mitsuhashi. Asterisk 2. Although every care has been taken in publishing information, the accuracy, completeness and safety of the contents of all posted information are not guaranteed.